Hello? Can you guys hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Alright, I'm sorry, I think I had a little bit of a network issue. Well, anyways, we are good now. So, hello everyone, good afternoon. I think I'll be the one taking you guys on React or CodeCamp 2.0. My name is Franklin John. Some of you know me, some of you don't know me anyways. But either ways, without further ado, I think we will start. Okay. So, well, first of all, before we start, I'd like to get to know the guys on this call. Okay. So, in any particular order, can you guys just start one by one? Actually, just raise your hand and then just give us a brief description of yourself. At least let's get to know who you can react to. Okay. So, if that's okay. So, on my own end, can you guys hear me?
Yes, 100%.
All right, you can hear me very good. So, please, so you can actually just start. So, all right. So, blessing, go ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
Yeah, good day, sir. I'm Blessing Akinola by name. I was opportune to attend CodeCamp 1.0. Currently, I have ability to use JavaScript to a good extent, HTML, CSS, and Bootstrap, and Tailwind CSS. So that's a brief about me.
All right, blessing. Thank you very much. You can put your hands down now. So, who wants to go next? Ah, nobody.
Okay,
Okay.
sorry. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Timile Babala. I was also fortunate to be in the CodeCamp 1.0, and I can we can do one or two things with React majorly, and it's really nice to have everyone here. Thank you.
All right. You're welcome. You're welcome. All right. So let's keep the spirit going. That's more like it. So, who's next? Okay. All right. Let's see. Rachel, why don't you go next?
Sorry, a call came in, so I don't really know what you guys are talking about.
All right. So we're just doing a brief introduction about ourselves, people who are going to be learning React. So just give us a brief introduction of yourself if you're in CodeCamp 1.0, and let's the people who are actually going to learn React to just get to know you. Okay.
Okay, my name is Rachel Opuba, and I was in code camp the beginning level initially. So I didn't make it to the end because of some challenges. But I'm okay with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So hope to improve my skills more with this React that I'm learning this thing.
All right. Thank you very much. We hope you'll be able to make it this time around to the end. Very so.
Yeah,
All right.
thank you.
You're welcome. So who is next? All right. Let's see. Uh, Tolu, Nick. I think Tolu, you could go on. Tolu, if you can hear me, if you would like you to introduce yourself. Okay.
Okay, good afternoon, please. My name is Moise Akon. Applying
All
for,
right.
I'm a front-end developer, junior front-end developer in React. Yeah.
Okay, sorry, we didn't get you clearly though.
I said my name is Muiz Akoni. Good afternoon, everyone.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Yeah. So I'm a junior front-end developer. Should I say? Yeah. I joined React. Yeah. React.
All right, okay. Well, welcome. This is good company. All right, so any other person wants to take a go, so we don't spend most of our time actually doing introductions. Although, any other person, just one last person at least. All right, in that case, if no one is actually willing to go, then let's start. All right, so once again, officially, good afternoon, everyone. So, this class is actually going to be an introduction. Now, when I say an introduction, we are not going to write any code today. I am sorry if I'm actually going to disappoint you, but the reason is because we can't just kickstart a technology by writing codes when you don't even know the backstory behind that technology and you don't even understand the structure behind that technology and you don't know anything about the technology. So yes, there will be no code today because we'll be diving into the history of React and the reason why React even came about in the first place. What were the challenges that React had to solve by its appealing, by its coming out? So that's what we'll be doing on today and in our next class. Yes, we will definitely write code. Okay. So before we start, okay, we have actually done all the introductions that we can actually do. So let's sorry about that. Let's just head straight to what we're actually going to do today. So what we will actually be doing today is going to be an introduction to the history of React and why React actually existed in the first place. Okay, so first of all, before I even start sharing my screen and showing the slides I prepared, I would like you guys to understand a few basic concepts of React. Now, before React actually did come about, basically we were actually using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript to build our web pages. Okay, so we build web pages using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. All right, I'm going to start sharing my screen. If you see it, just tell me. All right, um, I am sharing my screen now. Can you guys see my screen? If you can, let me see an indication in the chat that it's working. Hello?
Yes, you can see your screen.
All right, very good. Okay, so let me start. Okay. All right, so okay, so this is my slide, and basically lecture one, history of React, and the person who's actually taking this course, John Franklin. Okay, next slide. Now, React came out in 2013. Okay, but before the advent of React, we were using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Now, I don't know if most of us actually know the history of the web, but when the web started at first, it was actually kind of simple. Okay, you make a form which actually sends data to the server and you get a response in the form of a text and something like that. I'm just using a form as an example. But as time goes on, I think things started to change. Okay, for example, things like the way the flow of the of a website actually goes. Let's use Facebook as a case study, for example. Now, the way Facebook is actually a social media platform. Now, Facebook actually makes use of data a lot. For example, you have to log in, and once you log into Facebook, you see a feeds page. Now that feeds page is actually going to come with a lot of things. Once you're logged in, for example, a lot of data is actually going to be going about. Um, your profile picture is going to be shown at the edge of the screen. Your name is actually going to show there. After a while, you're going to see your list of friends, and then you're also going to see list of feeds that your friends have actually posted, and also you're going to see list of adverts and the rest. And before you get to find out that it's actually going to be quite cumbersome. It's going to be very big, okay, for just your HTML, CSS, and JavaScript to display all of that at once. Okay, so you're going to need something that's going to be a little less tasking on the browser. Okay, that's why I said in this slide that now using just HTML, CSS, and JavaScript to render web pages was just very tasking on the browser. Why? Because it is the browser that is actually going to decide, okay, okay, this part of this place, okay, this particular person has updated his profile. His name has changed from let's say Tolu to Ola, and so let's change that. Let's change that, and then browser changes that, and then before you know, browser like, oh, Ola is kind of short, so we need to make Ola have a little bit of space so that it's not going to affect the profile picture and the rest. So all of that was what the browser was actually doing. To say, right, that way of development was tasking on the browser because browser DOM, which is a document object model that helps the browser to render web pages and also rearrange the layout of the web page, was doing all the work. So that process on its own not usually be tasking, but if you think of large apps like say Netflix, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, apps that use a lot of data flow, you find that the browser is going to be having so much work on its hands to do, okay, and to becomes very tasking. And this way of actually programming was called an iterative way of programming because everything was happening on the browser, and the browser was almost doing all these jobs. And number one, it was actually affecting some things. The document object model of the browser was doing so much, and there was too many data flowing everywhere. There was no structure. There was no way to structure the data to actually make it flow. And before you know it, if a new feature is implemented, some things in your code break because there is no way of actually making everything flow in unison. Okay, so those were some of the problems that Facebook, the developers in Facebook actually saw, okay, while building, and that's prompted them to, you know, invent React per se, which leads us to the next slide. The next slide says Facebook to the rescue. Okay, so Facebook actually came up with the idea of React. The developers at Facebook, they took all those things we mentioned in the first slide into consideration, and the concept of React was spreaded. Okay, if that's a word. Now, React actually solves most of those issues, and it does that in a lot of ways. Now, the first thing React actually does is that you do not edit or like you do not make changes to the browser DOM yourself. React will do that. Now, I know that we are used to the fact that, okay, fine, yes, we make changes to the browser, we make changes to the DOM, but then the changes we make is not done to the browser DOM. It's actually carried out from using JavaScript. So we do not get to change anything on the browser. React will do that for us. Now, React also need another good discovery, which is one of the building blocks of React, and that's building websites like Lego blocks. So, what it means is you build websites in chunks, in little pieces, and you put those pieces together to form a web page, and from a web page, you form a web app. Okay, that way it makes it very easy to edit, it makes it very easy to know where there are errors in your code, it makes it very easy for you to actually track your changes. Then number three, which is the issue of data flow. React actually solves that by using a unidirectional data flow, in the sense that data actually flows on a straight line. Like for those of us who are conversant with React, the data flows from your app component down to the other components, depending on which one is the parent component and which one is the child component. So that's how the data flows. And then the last one is UI. The rest is up to you. So React actually makes it very easy for us to use it. So React is just a library. And what it does is, okay, it gives us the UI. It tells us, okay, you can use state, you can use components, but the rest you have to provide that yourself. So that's why React can actually be integrated into a lot of things. For example, you could use React for uh, you could use React to create mobile apps. You could use React to create desktop apps. You could use React to create even virtual reality apps. Okay. Now, what you have to understand from all this is that React is just a particular piece of the puzzle. React is just the core of the puzzle, but you will have to, integrate other things to help React work with certain environments. Now, for the web, React is actually integrated with the virtual DOM, which helps it, you know, interact with the browser DOM and know what to do. So for other ones, the basic technologies, let's say for web apps, sorry, for mobile apps, we use React Native. Okay, so that native, then now there's also another engine that actually works with mobile apps, which React will actually integrate with and actually build amazing web apps. Sorry, amazing mobile apps. I keep saying web apps. Then it's because I'm not a developer. All right, so about that, so I'll go into the breakdown of each of these four sections. All right, let's see. Before we go into the breakdown of this particular section, I just want to make a little bit of check. I don't know if anyone has question or something. I can't see. Uh, let's see. All right. Uh, okay. Okay. I think there's no questions for now, right? Everything is quite understood, I guess. Hello. Any questions? All right. If hello, Daniel, do you have a question?
No, no, no. I was saying no questions, sir.
All right. Okay. All right. Um, okay. So let's see. Let's go back to the slides. Whenever I turn on the slides, I can't actually see what's going on. So that's what I'm asking. All right. So start the slide again. Let's go. So we this is where we'll be starting from. Do not touch the DOM. We have to do that. So like I said, React actually gives us a virtual DOM. Okay, and this virtual DOM is what we actually start with, is what we actually use in uh in when okay, it's what we use whenever we're working with React. We do not touch the browser DOM. And the reason why we do not touch the browser DOM is because React is actually going to do that for us, okay? So that we don't go and press Control Square or something. So React actually changes that. And how React actually does that is because, or what, the reason why React can actually do that and still stay stable because React is declarative. Now, what do we mean by React is declarative? Now, whenever when working with React, we know we are going to use things like state and components and the rest. So React actually goes to check the state, which is actually a JavaScript object. And it is from that state, whatever that is declared in that state, okay, where you can say, okay, is user logged in true? Is profile picture his profile picture display showing false and all that. Now, React goes and checks your state, and it takes your state and it uses the changes you make to your state to actually change the browser DOM or render the browser DOM. So that way, you don't necessarily have to change everything on your browser DOM over and over again. And that's one of the reasons why React is actually fast. Okay, because React goes to the browser DOM, checks your state, and makes a comparison of the virtual DOM it has and the browser DOM. And it only changes those things that have changed in the virtual DOM. It just goes to the browser DOM and just changes them at once. Okay, it doesn't have to wait to do all these things, like rendering the browser DOM from beginning again. No, it just changes what has to be changed, those few things. That's what it does. Now, by doing that, it saves us as developer a lot of time and stress where we will have to, start figuring out if the browser DOM is actually going to be able to be compatible with a particular feature or change that we are making. If our code is actually going to break or the now we don't have to think of all those things anymore. React will do all of that for us. So is there a problem? Whose mic is unmuted, please? All right. So I think without any further questions, I'll move on to the next one. And the next one is building websites like Lego blocks. Okay. Like I said, React makes use of components to build little chunks of code, which in turn makes up a full web page or website when added together. Okay. So React actually uses its core library in building web pages for us. Okay, that's why whenever you install, for those of us who have actually dabbled into React a little, we find that if you use the once you install React, if you don't install once you install React, the only thing that gets installed is React scripts and React DOM. Okay, because those are the two core things that React actually needs. Okay, to build web pages. All right. So using that, you can actually create JSX, which is some kind of HTML inside JavaScript, and you can create components, and you can actually work with state. And now it's through that state, like we said in the first slide, it's through the state that the virtual DOM can actually be uh, manipulated, and changes can be made. And then React actually goes to check the virtual DOM and sees the changes made to the virtual DOM and then makes changes to the browser DOM. Okay, I know these processes look like it's actually tedious, but it's not. In fact, these steps are actually very fast when it happens on code. Like it happens in milliseconds, okay, and you don't get to know what's happening in the background. But you need to understand these basics. But we need to understand these basics so when we start working with React, we know where we are having issues. Okay, now when I say we know where we are having issues, sometimes we make the mistake of putting our state in a child component, and before you know it, you're trying to update something and then it's not updating where it's supposed to be updated because that data flow is not going to the right component. All right. So that said about that, we go to the next one, which is unidirectional data flow. I think I've actually pushed into it a little. Uh, like I said, React uses states on a general level where all components can be modified to change the virtual DOM, and then React in turn will change the browser DOM based on the changes made to the virtual DOM. Now, that was what I was trying to explain to you guys. So we have to actually make these changes, and it is going to affect the virtual DOM, not the browser DOM, which the user sees. No, it's going to affect the virtual DOM, which is a JavaScript rendered browser DOM. Okay, I'm trying to use the best term to explain it so we understand what I'm actually talking about. So, in case you have any questions, please leave it in the chat. I think once I close the slides, we'll come and then we'll visit them. Okay. So React uses unidirectional data flow, which means data flows one way in React. So it's like saying uh, you have a dam and if you're trying to put water into a bucket and you have other buckets that tap into that particular bucket. So the more you turn water into the bucket, the water actually distributes and goes to the other buckets. So let's take for example that that water is actually the data. Okay, so the data flows from your app components to the parent components to the child components, and with, with that way, uh, every component in your React app has access to your state because your data actually changes in the state in React. Okay, now with that, you can actually change things when they are need to be changed, where change is needed, and things can be manipulated when needed. Okay, because data is flowing one way from top to bottom. Okay, it's not flowing from side to side. It's flowing from top to bottom. That way, it's even going to touch the sides before it gets to the bottom. Because definitely, all components will be able to tap from that data and be able to use that data. And I think the last one says UI, the rest is up to you. And all we're trying to say is React is not strictly about what is to be used when building the base. Okay, its only concern is about the virtual DOM used for rendering and then using the features of the React library like components, state, etc. Basically, it focuses on the UI of the web page. Every other thing used is negligible, meaning you can use whatever you want to use when building your React. So I don't know if we actually got that part straight, if you do understand. But then, what it means in, in summary is that React is just a JavaScript library. Okay, React can only build uh, web pages, can only build the UI. Now, if you want things that will come with functionalities, if you want to route different pages, you have to start installing those libraries alongside React. And that was why I said at first that the only two things that React comes with is the React script, which is the core React, and then the React DOM, which actually serves as the browser DOM that changes which serves as the virtual DOM that is used to change the browser DOM. Okay. Now, I think I did a little bit of an illustration to demonstrate how these things work. Okay, so uh, to illustrate this is kind of like the difference between a framework and a library. All right, so I think let me break this down because most times people ask this question. Okay, so what's the difference between a framework and a library? And sometimes people give answers which they might not be very sure of, or okay, I can put it to you that if you use this answer, this is a very viable answer. Okay, this will actually uh, hit the nail on the head. Now, why do I say so, or why am I confident in that? Well, that's because a framework, okay, a framework is structured, a framework is patterned, a framework has guidelines, okay, a framework is strict. A framework tells you, okay, this is how you're actually going to build, or this is how you're going to work using, if you let's take for example something like Vue.js. Vue.js is a framework, a JavaScript framework, and Vue.js framework is actually kind of like straight to the point. You know that this is what you use with
examine a network issue. Be back shortly, please. In case we don't have any question, please kindly drop it in the chat box. Spending the time trainer comes in. Thank you.
Sorry, we can't hear you.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay. So sorry, please. Where did you guys lose me? Hello. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we are hearing you. We are hearing you, sir.
Okay. 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 I said, where did you guys lose me, please? Like, where did I get cut off, or where did you stop hearing me? What was I talking about? So I know where to
Yes, by
begin.
the time you at each pages before you have to install routes and the likes before.
Okay. 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 So
Yes, sir. Just start with
sorry.
framework and library.
We were done, like already saying. Okay, the difference between a framework and a library,
A
right?
library. Yes.
Hello, guys. Abdel. Okay, let someone just drop it in the chat. So I see. I can't hear you guys very well. I don't think it's my network.
I think you lost us at the point where we were explaining the difference between the framework and the library.
Can you hear me? All right. Okay. The difference between a framework and a library. Okay. Thank you. All right. Thank you very much. Well, I hope you guys can hear me now. Okay. What I was saying, what I was saying is this: that with the way React is, that React actually is kind of dynamic. Okay. So React can be used anywhere. So I was trying to explain that. I said a framework actually is like a kitchen where everything that you have to use for cooking has been provided to you. Okay, like you have your cooker is there. Okay, your your fridge is there. Your table for doing all your chopping is there. Your oven is there. Everything you need has been set for you, and you can only use those things. Okay. Or meanwhile, a library is like an empty kitchen. Okay, where the only thing you have is what you bring with you. In fact, the only thing you have that will serve as your React engine is just your stove, what you use for cooking, either your stove or your gas cooker per se. For every other thing, you have to bring it with you. You have to bring like you have to bring it. Let's say, for example, the one who's actually going to decide, okay, will I use the blender or our local mortar and pestle? Will I use a knife and a chopping stick, or you're going to use a chopping board and all those things? Okay, use a mixer and all those things. Sorry, I like food so much. That's why I can give you this example here. But all I'm trying to say is React is very dynamic. Whenever you want to use React, React can actually be integrated with a whole lot of things, and that's why React can be used to build on almost any platform. Okay, you could use React for web apps, for mobile apps, for virtual machines, okay, look for desktop apps on all operating systems, both Mac, Linux, and Windows, and the rest. Okay, you could use React for almost all of this, and that's one of the reasons why most companies prefer using React to work. Now, most product-based companies, things like the major example is Facebook. Twitter also uses React. Netflix also uses React. Airbnb uses React. Okay. Now that's because React is very dynamic and it's useful to do different things. Okay. So I don't know if you guys have any questions per se as to what we'll actually be discussing so far during the course of Bootcamp 2.0 and with regards to React. Okay, so if you have any questions whatsoever, please the floor is open for you to ask your questions. Hello, can you guys hear me?
Hello, yeah, we can hear you.
All right, so I'm saying, do you guys have any questions?
Okay, I just joined. I just joined the meeting, not quite long. So I can only ask a general question from you, sir. Wait, will you do yourself for me? Hello, can you hear me, please? Hello.
Please, if you have any questions, please, now will be the time to ask. So, and then you move on to the next thing.
I have a question, sir.
Please, most most preferably, just drop your questions in the chat section so that in case you can't choose your mic, we could actually hear you. We could actually read your questions and then start answering them. Okay. Good. I'm still waiting for you guys. I think we have a 10 minutes window. Okay. Yes, the class is being recorded. Yes, so once it's done, it's actually going to be uploaded online, and you can get the video recording of the particular class. Okay, the difference between a web app and a website. Uh, there isn't actually much of a difference between a web app and a website. Okay, I think this question is related to was coming from Oluwatani Larry. Okay, uh, a website, okay, might range from static pages to fully functional websites that are very dynamic, like Facebook and the rest. But meanwhile, a web app is strictly websites in quotes that have functionality, okay, that are dynamic. Now, for example, any website that can actually take your information and use that information as data, process it, and give you feedback on the data that you have actually inputted is a web app. Okay, now let me break it down further and explain. Things like Facebook, okay, websites like Facebook is a web app, Twitter is a web app because they are social media platforms and they can take in information from you. Let's say, for example, you can register on Facebook, you can register on Twitter, and next time you come visiting that website, they will remember that okay, it is you as long as you put in the right details. If you put in the wrong details, they'll tell you no, you missed something, something is wrong. Now, websites are just static web pages that do not do any of those. Okay, basically, a website uh, is a category of both of those. Okay, now a web app is actually very interactive. Okay, very, very interactive. All right, so you said so all web app, yes, all web apps are websites. Okay, let's put it this way. Websites are kind of like the general name for all of them, okay? But you cannot call a static website, let's say, for example, a website that showcases a portfolio of a company where you're just going to see uh, what the company does and the things the company have done, let's say the company's portfolio and just that, just the company portfolio. And then you're just going to see something like an email address where you can actually go and chat the company up, or a telephone number where you can actually call the company if you want to do business with them. You cannot compare that with a website that is actually going to be interactive to you as things like Facebook and Twitter are. So those are the two, how do I put it? Those are the two categories of websites you have, static and dynamic websites. And the reason some websites are dynamic are because they use, or most websites are dynamic are because they use JavaScript in building them. And those websites are dynamic because JavaScript, being the programming language of the web, can actually, take in user data from the client side, process them, take them to the server side, and then still bring them back with responses. Okay, and in short, web apps are part of websites. But when it comes to websites, not all websites can be called web apps. Yes. So I don't know if there is any other question. Okay. If there won't be any other question, then uh, all right, you're welcome. So if there's no other question, then I think I'll give you guys something to look forward to or something to rehearse, which is what we will be touching about in our next class. Okay, so the basics of or the prerequisites of what you need for those who haven't. you're going to need to know things like uh, map in JavaScript, map, basically array methods. Okay, how to work with arrays. Where you have things like map, filter. Okay, what else do we even use for each and the rest? So okay, you're going to have to know all of that. How to use the difference between cons, lets, because those are what you use these days. How to work with classes, yes, then sort. Okay, so these concepts need to be at your fingertips. I think in our next class, we'll go over a preamble of all of them, and then we'll start with creating a React app and basically how to, in fact, we'll build a project in our next class with React, a simple project that actually shows us how React can be used. Let's say, for example, we'll start with the project is actually going to be an array of pictures that's going to be, let's say, I'm just trying to make up something in my head, which I know we can actually work on that's going to show us the basics of React. Now, like, you know how to create a React app from scratch. So I think if possible, we even integrate a CSS library with it. Okay, I think we'll do something like Bootstrap and create some. And then we'll also call APIs, a simple API that we'll call that's just going to be that's going to show a picture and it's going to show a name and all that. I believe all of us are actually have used JavaScript in one way or the other. In fact, for us to even be here, it means that we are a bit comfortable with using JavaScript. So we'll be calling APIs from our next class on. I think that's what we'll go through. I just wanted to use this class to do an introduction and to help us understand a little bit of the concepts of React behavior. Okay? So I think in the next class, we'll build, that's when we'll start working with React. I saw something like whether we're not going to get the project. For this first class, there will be no project. There won't be any coding. For the next class, we'll kill ourselves with coding. I hope that's going to be okay by us. Let's not feel disappointed that we didn't do anything practical, but sometimes theory actually helps us so that when it comes to times of practical, we can actually integrate that. Okay, so until then, I think I will see you guys in the next class. So let's be fired up and let's prepare. Next class is going to be a whole lot more easier than what we have now. Okay, all right. Thank you very much. Thank you all. Thank you for your time. See you guys in the next class.